Thanks. Thanks for that. When we were on a skiing trip about 5 years ago, our son named Ties, he got so asthmatic and such trouble breathing that we had to take him acutely to a hospital in Albertville. And in the hospital, he got treated well, and we were there for 3 days. And during these 3 days, he had an oxygen saturation monitor attached to him. And there's one rule, there's one protocol in this hospital that says that if the oxygen level drops below 91%, an alarm goes off. And you have to stay alarm-free for 24 hours to leave the hospital. That's just the protocol, right? So now imagine, this SAT meter is a sensor that's band-aided to the toe of the child. And it's very sensitive to movement. So try to imagine, telling an 8-month-old to lie still for 24 hours. And after a couple of days, you really, really, really want to leave the hospital. So what I did is I programmed the SAT meter to lower the threshold. So I basically hacked our way out of the hospital. So, you want to get out, right? So basically, but if you think about it, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. So you're caring for an 8-month-old by yourself with your family, and you're completely in the dark. You have no data at all, right? But, decisions about life and death, right? So when you walk into that hospital because, things are getting really bad, and you're really happy because you're cared for, but you also step into the matrix, right? There's all these mystic boxes, etc. And you completely, you leave all your autonomy at the door. You're completely dependent. You know nothing, right? And then when you walk out of that hospital again, after 3 days, if you're lucky, then that's a good thing because you step out, but you're completely left in the dark again. You have no data, and it's au revoir, bonne journée, take care. And, you don't know what to do anymore. So it's black and white. And I think that's strange. And I think it can be better. I think it will be better. And I think today is a good opportunity to look ahead because I think big changes, even disruption is coming to healthcare. And let me tell you why, because that's the subject of my talk today. Right? I want to talk about the health API and the sensor revolution and how it affects each other. Now, first of all, let me explain API to you. API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it defines how computers and systems talk to each other, communicate with each other to deliver you guys the great apps and services you enjoy every day on your phones, etc. So that's API. Now let's put that away until the end of the talk, right? First, let's focus on sensors, right? Sensors, they're everywhere these days. Wearables are all the rage, right? Right here, fuel band, tracking your activity, collecting all this data, and there's Fitbits and Misfits and Samsung Gear and what have you. There's just so many of them. There's even so many of them that Nike has decided to pull out of the sensor business. And let me tell you why, because I think they're moving up one step in the food chain. So, but it's not only, these wearables. There's going to be things that are less intrusive, right? There's going to be sensors, stick to your skin. There's going to be sensors in the diapers, watching over the urine or excrement of your little one, your loved one. There's going to be fashionable sensors. Maybe this is not the best fashion accessory. But there's also going to be sensors in your contact lenses watching over your blood glucose level on a 24-hour basis, right? So that's the first category of sensors I wanted to talk about. They all collect a lot of data about you, store it, forward it, etc. Now there's a second category that I want to discuss, and it's a little bit less obvious one. It's about sensors because the world around you is getting more wired and wired each day, right? Your smartphone is a sensor. It continuously monitors you. Google is in a way a sensor because it tracks all your behavior and knows a lot about you, Facebook, etc. So, but your surroundings, your house is getting wired, your doorbell, your light switches, your car is wired, and it all monitors all this data about you. And there's even sensors maybe in less mundane or in pretty mundane objects like good old analog telephone. How does this work? Now, if you're in a voice conversation, say with an elderly parent, one of the early indicators of developing Parkinson's disease is a loss of control of your vocal cords, resulting in a different speech pattern. So if you have an example here, it's just, just to visualize it a little bit, the top would be healthy pattern, bottom would be just slightly adjusted. If there would be an algorithm listening into the conversation, it could pick out these subtle changes in speech, giving you maybe an early heads up about what's to come. So it's going to be in everything, right, these sensors. Now, third category, I want to talk about medical devices. And I think for most of you, the most advanced medical device in your household right now is this, right? And some of you have progressed even more, they've moved up to this one, right? It's digital, but it's not wired, it's still a dumb thing, right? This will change because what I think is the consumerization of these medical devices, where blood glucose meters like this, they don't cost a lot, or blood pressure meters like this one attaches to your iPhone. You can use this on a daily basis, or when you think something's wrong, and you can share that data. Or, now, this is something I would love to show you. It's an electrocardiogram iPhone case. I have it right here. It's from a LiveCore. And if I switch it on, I'm sorry I can't show it on the big screen, but I'll try it this way, and I'll just show that way. It will initialize, and it will show my heart rate is about 100, which, normally it's a bit lower. During practice it was only 85, so I don't know. So amazing thing, and it's in the range of $100, $150. So this is a thing you can, if you're a heart patient, you can take home. If you, feel a little bit, what's wrong, you take this data, send it to your doctor. People will buy this. Now, one last thing, and I got really, really inspired when I saw this at South by Southwest conference. It's from a company called 23andMe, and it's the Spit Kit. What it does, it's going to analyze your DNA. How does it work? You mail order it. It's $100. You get this little box, and there's a plastic tube in there. You spit in it. I'm not going to do it right now. But after you're done, just put it in the envelope, mail it back, and you get a complete scan of your DNA. And we'll look for any defects in your DNA. And that defects might tell something about if you're susceptible to rare diseases, prostate cancer, stuff like that, or if you have allergy to certain medicine or anything. And that's valuable data. You can do this. And actually, I think this will lead to a breakthrough. So, just the box right there. Now, those three categories, all these sensors, all data. Basically, this data currently is pretty siloed, right? It's in the cloud, but it's all, per app or per device, it's separated. And there's a whole bunch of things that needs to be sorted out about privacy and ownership. And, I think Edward Snowden helped a lot with us, recognizing the importance of this stuff. And it's going to be hugely important. But the next step will be the aggregation and correlation of this data, right? Because now it's difficult. So there's already talk about, in iOS 8, Apple will introduce HealthBook. HealthBook is going to be a data aggregator of all this health data. But you don't have to wait for that. You can also already go to humanapi.co, and on this website you can upload all this data. 23andMe is right there, but also Runkeeper, Nike, Strava, they're all there. You can just upload this data and bring it together. So if you all your data in your personal cloud. Now, what do we do with this data? I think today it's pretty limited, right? I mean, we visualize the data, nice graphs. We create leaderboards. We want to become king of the mountain on Strava. Where's you? So there's all these things, but it's limited still. I think, we need a backend that turns this data into advice. And that advice will need to be contextual. It will be spontaneous. And let me give you an example. One day, you will receive a push notification saying, hey, I notice you've been sleeping irregularly lately. You've been gaining weight. Your heart rate is going up. You're missing a lot of calls. Is there a problem? Is there anything wrong? Do you want to connect to someone helping you out there? And that message is generated by algorithms, by the data. We will get the Google Now for health. Right? I think this is made possible by the fact it's not just your data, it's all our data, and it's combined. And it's going to create, the sort of largest human data set about our health, and there's going to be data mining on a scale that's unprecedented. And it's going to allow for research, for correlations between cause and effect of rare diseases, etc. It's no coincidence Google is helping with the 23andMe company, right? So there's going to be a huge ecosystem of all these apps, all this data, all these services working together. And that's why I think change, not only change, but disruption is coming to the health industry. You can call it the Googleification of health. And, in 20 years from now, we might look back of the hospitals of today as we do to the mainframes of the 70s we do today. And by the way, this power of this mainframe currently fits in your iPhone. So, when you step into that doctor's office, right? Imagine that the conversation, there's 5 minutes allotted to that conversation, right? Most of that time right now is spent on collecting your data. What's your name again? Blood type. And in the end, writing out prescriptions, etc. So imagine that when you step in, if that doctor is plugged into this cloud, you can get right down to business. And the conversation will be of more value. And it will be more level, right? Because we're going to be the prosumers of health. And when you leave the doctor, it won't be like, goodbye, get better. But he can set monitors and alerts to your cloud and monitor your progress back towards health. And if there's a regression, he can send out a push notification saying, hey, watch that you still take your pills or whatever. Because he taps into that. Anyone, I don't know, I don't know, I don't see all the faces, but anyone from our clientele working in any way related to the health industry, I would say today is the day to start thinking about this future, about start developing your programs to tap into this health cloud, to enable us to have more control of our own health and provide the apps and services that we're going to demand, right? I mean, we want the health industry to be our health API to provide that services. So, fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, this is doing very well, as you can see. And but if it would happen that I would have to walk into that hospital again, I hope that with the new health API, I will regain complete control of what's going on inside that hospital. And when I think it's time to leave, I can leave. Thank you.